Good morning, everyone. Today we'll be talking about police officers, but police officers in a general way, from trainees to when they actually when they actually go into high ranks. And also, one of our topics is also going to be why officers or police officers have bad reputation during this era, and why, in a way, the Gen Z generation has help in has a help in building this type of reputation for police officers. Joining us is Police Colonel Romandi de la Cruz Jr., Chief of NCRTC Camp Bagong Diwa, Taguig. Good morning, sir.
Morning, Len.
How are you this morning?
I'm doing good. We just actually recovered from 191 active cases of COVID-19, but we eventually managed through.
Oh my god. Well, I'm glad to hear that. So we're gonna have 20 questions, and I'm just gonna shoot the first question. So is that okay? Are you ready?
Yes.
Okay. So the first question is, what is your job and can you tell us a bit about it?
Okay, I'm a police officer with the rank of Colonel in the Philippine National Police. I belong to the Philippine National Police Academy class of 1998. The mission of the Philippine National Police is to enforce the law, to prevent and control crimes, to maintain peace and order, and to ensure public safety and security with the active support of the community.
Mm, it seems like it seems like a very tough job to do. Like, was this always the job you dreamed of doing?
No, it was actually circumstantial. When after graduating
Um,
from college, the job employment then was so low, and out of embarrassment to my parents for being jobless for 2 years since graduating from college, and with my utmost desire to make it on my own, I decided to enter the academy in 1996. I have no regrets, however. The academy positively changed a lot in me that I could never have experienced in any other learning institution.
so, how long have you been an officer?
I have been in the service for 25 years already, including cadetship.
So, if since it's been that long, does it ever tire you out?
It certainly does. The demands of public safety service can sometimes take away even your personal time and quality moments with your family. But eventually they understood. They know that in the PNP we must sometimes work overtime so that the community could be better protected.
Why did you think about pursuing the job you have now, especially with the pandemic going on? Like, how are you holding up?
Law enforcement is a noble job. It gives you the rare opportunity to serve and protect the community even at the expense of your own life. By serving and protecting the community, we must be prepared for all sorts of challenges where we could extend assistance to the people. And the pandemic is just one of them.
Mm.
To hold up, you need a significant amount of commitment and perseverance.
So, since you work at the National Capital Region Training Center, what are the types of officers you had trained? Are there any interesting stories?
I have trained predominantly basic recruits since year 2000, and the biggest challenge that I have encountered, as I have told you a while ago, is when we had 191 active cases COVID-19. But with God's intervention, we managed to get through, and there were lots of lessons learned that we intend to incorporate on the next training.
Mm. So, are there times where you'll look at a trainee and you can tell what officer they're gonna be after they graduate?
Actually, yes. During the 20 years or so, I sort of had a template already.
Mm.
First, I observe the character and the way they respond to training. From then, I could usually predict what kind of police officers they would become after that.
How do you feel when you see these people that you had trained turn into police officers?
It depends. If you would see your products perform their jobs well after training, it certainly gives me a sense of fulfillment. But it can sometimes be frustrating if a trainee performs otherwise.
Mm. Okay, so since we're on the topic of course, you have trained police officers and you have seen different types of people. What is your opinion on the acronym Acab, which means all cops are bad?
Uh, Let me give you a question also.
Mm.
Are all eggs white?
No,
No. Do all beautiful girls have bad attitudes?
no.
No. The impression that all cops are bad is likewise fallacious in argument. It's just a byproduct of typecasting that is brought about by frequent highlighting of the misdeeds of a few bad eggs in the field.
Mm. So, what do you feel when you hear people say Acab, especially in this generation where these words or these phrases they like tend to go viral. So when you like see or hear them, what do you like feel?
Honestly, it does not bother me that much because I know that I know the facts. Concluding that all cops are bad without any reliable evidence to support it is just pure speculation.
Mm, I think that's true. So why do you think, so since we're gonna pertain to the acronym ACAB, why do you think cops are gaining a bad reputation in this era?
One thing is bad publicity. Again, I will ask you a question. If a man happens to drop by a newspaper stall to buy a newspaper and sees two headlines, one of which says, "Airplane crashes at sea," and the other one says, "Barangay Tanod gets commended." Which headline do you think the man would be more interested in? Usually, we tend to get interested with the bad news, right?
Yes.
In social media, more often than that, the bad news would sell more often and would get more attention. If propagating bad write-ups against someone or something would be done more frequently, then it becomes gospel truth.
Mm,
Honestly, what you learn from social media about few bad cops does not represent the entirety of the PNP. There are more good police officers who are even willing to give their lives for the people.
that's very true, but how do you think this bad reputation started?
Uh, Let me modify the question with this answer. I would say that with the advent of communications technology, people have broader means to express adverse opinions about the police.
Mm. So this is another one. This is a hypothetical question. Since we're talking about, like cops gaining bad reputation, hypothetically, how many police officers in one station can actually be corrupt?
It's even hard to say hypothetically because it would still be unfair to the members of the PNP. But let me just say that the uncorrupt ones significantly outnumber those who are corrupt. I could confidently say that.
Okay, so we're gonna move on from like corruption in a police station. So this one, how bad is the corruption in the Philippines right now?
Well, I believe I do not have the factual data to answer that, and I'm not even in the position to answer that as well. However, there are independent, reliable studies that could provide you answers, and one of which is the Corruption Perceptions Index that is being published by Transparency International. You can find all the facts there.
So based on those studies, do you think it's gotten worse or it's gotten better?
Well, I don't think so. With the intensified efforts of the current administration, I would say that it has gotten better.
You think it's gotten better?
Yeah.
Uh, so based on so the acronym Acab, it's actually a
Mm.
term popularized by Generation Z. So since how do you think? What do you think? What is your opinion on Gen Z having really strong political opinions?
Well, it means that comparing with our era or with our genre, it means that young people nowadays are more aware of the various compelling issues that they think need to be addressed.
So Generation Z mostly had started like rallies, especially last year, even during the pandemic. What are your thoughts on rallies during the pandemic because of people in power abusing their position?
No country in the world was prepared for this pandemic. Not even the more advanced countries in the world like the US, China, Russia. The pandemic brought about multifaceted repercussions that countries little thought of. What they perceived as a violation of their rights that resulted in them having rallies could be settled amicably in the proper forum.
Mm. So, since we're on the topic about rallies, what are your thoughts about rallies in general? Like, not just in the pandemic, but in general, do you think rallies help?
Yes, yes, it does. It is a right under the 1987 Constitution, under Section 4, and if I may quote, no law shall be passed abridging the freedom of speech, of expression, of the press, or the right of the people peaceably to assemble and petition the government for redress of grievances. It is actually embedded in the Constitution.
Mm. Okay, so we're gonna move away from like the deep questions. So this one's gonna be a very lighthearted question. Like, if you weren't a cop, what job would you be in instead?
I would be a fireman.
Well,
You know what my story is.
yes. So, okay, last question. Can you please give us a few words, like for my generation who's like scared, angry, or skeptical about police officers?
As what I told you in the previous questions, law enforcement is a noble profession because not everyone could be given the opportunity to serve and protect the community. While there are few misfits in the PNP, the good ones definitely outweigh the bad ones. Little is known about the many heroic acts that they could that they could know about, and some of us, or most of us, are even willing to give up our lives just to protect and serve the people. Unfortunately, and oftentimes, the sporadic misdeeds of PNP personnel are the ones getting highlighted. Perhaps one example that could exemplify the heroism of police officers is the Mama Sapan incident. Are you aware of that? Where 44 members of the PNP sacrificed their lives to capture a terrorist who was responsible for killing so many people. And there are many more stories that could attest that the PNP is a true servant of the Filipino people. And let me just say that let's just work hand in hand together, and so that we can keep our society consistently safe and secure.
Okay, thank you for those the kind words, those reassuring like thoughts, and thank you so much for coming and joining our discussion today. Everybody, that was Police Colonel Romandi Dela Cruz Jr. And thank you so much for joining us. And that will be all.